Thank you so much. First things first, I grew up in Calcutta. I haven't been home in 2 years, so I think I teared up a little bit. Thank you so much.
That was for you.
Yeah, I know, of course. Thank you. I mean, I just thought I'd make a public thanks. And thank you so much for making this film. Thank you so much for being in it. And one of the first things I think you say in the film that you're not sure why he agreed to be in the documentary. So why did you agree to be? Was it a hard sell? Did he have to convince you, or was it easy?
Actually, I have a little bit of a cold. Denis and I are old friends. We've known each other for 20 years, and we've worked on other projects. And this was sort of a outcome of that long friendship. So I was more than happy to work with Denis.
I can tell you a bit more if you want.
Sure.
So I made a very short documentary. That was my first documentary more than 20 years ago with Steve. And so, years passed. And during maybe 15 years after this documentary, which was actually a good pretext to become friends, and that's what, I think we took. And, we are meeting each other sometimes in New York, in Barcelona, where I live, or anywhere in the world. And, the idea of making another documentary, like a feature-length documentary, that was kind of traveling in our minds for all this time. And in 2015, I just called Steve, and I said, "You ready? You want to do it?" And 1 week later, we're shooting.
There's something to be said of when you're too close to the subject, too close to the protagonist, and you've been such good friends. I wonder, and of course, like your documentary touches upon like the idea of truth. So does being so close to the subject and being emotionally so attached to him, how do you remain objective is probably my question.
Oh, you're not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're not objective. It's not made to be a reportage, or it's a very subjective, and it's my vision of this gentleman. And I think, my intention at least was to have, the arc of the film is kind of following the arc of our friendship or relationship, because Steve is very discreet and quiet, and I'm very happy he's here today. And but to know a person, you never know a person actually, and it's like it's like a journey. And I wanted the film to kind of express the journey. You've seen the beginning of the film and the end of the film, and that's kind of a metaphor of how do you lower the guard, and how do you open your doors. And Steve has done something amazing for this film. He's not only opened his arms and the door of his house, he's really opened his heart, and he's talking about childhood and family, and that's things he's never did before. And I think without this, we wouldn't have that. So the objectivity and subjectivity. I think subjectivity sometimes allows you to be, to access actual, stories and content in a way that you wouldn't be otherwise capable.
And there's something to be said of trust as well. If somebody, someone from news channel comes in and makes this film about someone they're so distant from, that won't be the same film. And somebody that you don't trust as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, I think that would have been a very different film.
Well, I gotta say, I'm gonna talk a bit.
Sure.
I gotta say, it's we've been shooting for 5 years. And actually the arc of the film actually respects this kind of timeline. And the first shootings were kind of not difficult, but we had to learn how to dance together, because Steve has to get in a zone, in this what you call the meditative state, to be able to find the picture, to see the pictures, and to create this kind of invisible line, between a character and yourself. And So we had to learn how to dance together, because you don't get, when Steve is in the zone, you don't get in his shot, or you don't say, "Hey, Steve, look, there's a good shot over there. Shoot a picture here." No, So, anyway, that's a really interesting process to be shooting somebody who is shooting, and to be making images of somebody who is an image maker. So it's like different levels, and you don't redo stuff. Or it's like, yeah, that was a good shot. Can we redo that? No, the portrait is, that person is gone, and the light is gone, whatever. Yeah. So that that was important during all the process to learn what to shoot, what not to shoot, and when to press the record and when to hold it, because there's moments in the film like this, in this boarding gate in Papua New Guinea, where it's a sequence shot, and it's like, and we've been shooting maybe 5 minutes to see the reality of the approach, for example, and I think so. that was very
what does being on the other side feel like when you've had a whole life of documenting things, and to be documented? What does that feel like?
After a while, you kind of forget the camera's there. I know the cameraman, we worked with him for many years. He's very respectful of my space, and that's really tough.
You get some water.
Could you open that for me?
Is one enough? Do you want to?
Thanks.
So the cameraman's an old friend too. We've been working together for many years, myself and Jordy. So it was, he would hang back and wouldn't interfere with me when I was shooting. And so, no, he was great. I could do my thing and he'd be there somewhere in the background. And, we'd have lunches and breakfasts and dinners together. So we got into the same sort of zone. And he was really, very easy to be with.
I mean, I could hog the mic for the rest of the evening, but do we have questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Of your photos and others?
I don't really think that much about that. I mean, black and white, for the first 100 years of photography, was the only game in town, really. So the great masters, Cortege and Bresson and Walker Evans and Dorothy Lane, everybody was black and white. So it stands to reason that we look at the history of photography as primarily black and white. But, the world's in color. I think you can, I respect photographers that still work in black and white. There's a lot of great photography in color. So I think it just, whatever your pleasure, whatever you get joy in, whatever is gratifying or fulfilling, I think that you just, for me, I enjoy color because that's the way the world is. And I don't think too deeply about it otherwise.
Can we, second last row? Yes.
I think you have to have a bit of humility. I think you have to be have a sense of humor. I think everybody appreciates humor and being self-effacing and going in there and being a part of this situation. And a lot of times photographers or tourists, they stand back and they kind of observe. I think you have to get inside and mix it up, talk to people, and sit down with them and talk and be respectful and try and gain their confidence. I think it's really simple. I think it's just, a sense of humor, treating them like real people, and getting, it's really nothing more complicated than that. Just being there with them and connecting with them, and this kind of connection evolves, and sometimes it's very quick. I think one of the most poignant scenes in the film was that little boy in Papua New Guinea who had basically lost his parents. And, you know, we were there, and pretty much for me, the whole power of that whole, almost the whole, you know, the whole time in Papua New Guinea was that little boy and how he was suffering, and you could feel that, you know, he was really kind of hurt. But as far as just connecting with people, I think you just want to, you know, get down and you know, drink some tea with them, and you know, just have fun, pretty much.
One more question. Yes, sir.
Mostly, sometimes you can, just by being there with your camera, establishing eye contact and approaching them, you can get a sense if this is okay. And I generally, I never want to disturb anybody or leave I don't want to upset, so I'm very careful about that. I try and ask permission sometimes if there's things unfolding. You can't always ask for permission on the street. But I think you just have to be respectful. That's the main point. You had a question down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The like the editing, the writing and editing process. That's time. I think we shot in I don't know how many countries are in the film, but we shot in 8 or 10 countries in the world over 5 years. And of course, you have an idea of the story you want to tell, but we've been following Steve actually to different places. So when we go to Papua New Guinea, we don't write, we're going to go to a village and then we're going to meet a little boy. So we just basically follow the, get in the flow and shoot a lot. We shot a lot. We shot I don't know, maybe 200 hours. And so to answer your question about the editing process, that was fun. that was a lot of fun. That was very fast. It was 1 year. And a lot of writing, of course. And what do you take? What do you leave? And not only talking about footage. I'm talking about stories. We had great stories. For example, Paul Theroux is here in the cinema. I've seen him in the film, and there were great stories about trains. Steve traveling on the top of the train and getting smacked by a cable, and crisscrossing India on trains. And there's so many stories. That's a life. And there's no way we can tell a life in 90 minutes. So, make choices, and we just hope that the film is gonna be accepted and embraced, and but most importantly that the film is faithful to the person, because it's not only a person, now it's a family, and it's it's a lot of years of work, and respecting the pictures also was very important. So we haven't cropped any pictures. And the timing of the picture is very important. So that was kind of trial and error. How much time should a picture be? How do you tell a story with pictures? That's one of the things that made me want to make this film about Steve, is how in one frame do you tell a human story. We shoot 25 or 50 frames per second. And a photographer shoots with one picture can tell a whole story. We know the Afghan girl, of course. And it does tell a story. And I think that's very, very interesting to investigate and to try to understand, and to go back to the upbringing of a person. And what makes a person have a pair of eyes so sharp that he's going to see something you don't see. And during the shoot, sometimes you see Steve running, You're like, what? You know? And we are slow because we have cameras and we have this and this and that. We are very slow. He's very fast. And so he's running and freezing and shooting something. And like, what is he doing? And then you see the picture and say, all right, you get me. But anyway, that's that was a very interesting process. I think that should be the last.
No,
one.
I think yeah.
Oh, there's
Sorry.
Paul here.
Yeah, sure.
I want to say one thing. Here's the unusual thing about this documentary. You see many documentaries about writers, about photographers, about painters, but very rarely, none that I can think of, where you actually see how a picture is made from going to the place, looking around the place, finding a shot, and then you see the result of the shot. This is like a lesson in how to make a picture. You documented not only Steve and his life, but you documented the process of photography, the process of creation, and the process of finding the picture. So I think it was great. It's also true. So I'm just complimenting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I just want to say one more thing before you guys leave.
Sure, sure.
We've been to traveling during 5 years, and we could do it because we have a partner and a sponsor, and they are named Silver Sea, and without them, this film wouldn't have been possible. And I want to thank you, Paul, and I don't know if Bob Danin is here, and I want to thank my co-producer, who is Bob Hay. Carlos, who is here. I want to thank Camille. I want to thank all the people who helped make the film, and I want to thank Lucia and Andy for all for your big heart. And I want to thank you.
Great, thank you.
And I wanna
Okay, guys,
thank
sorry
you
about
both.
that, but
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure, thank you.
all right.